So today I'm going to review with you how to factor trinomials with GCFs. And this is the note sheet that you had seen earlier in class. I got rid of some of the problems, so I condensed it a little. So all the problems you saw before are on here, but you can watch the video just as a refresher if you'd like. So remember, for these, usually you should always factor out a GCF if there is one with the trinomial. So for this first one here, there's not a GCF that you can factor out from all three of these terms here. So you'll do a times c to start. So 2 times 5. So 2 times 5, so you'll get 10. So you're looking for factors of 10 that would add to give you 7, since that's your middle term there. So then you can make your list of factors of 10. So for this one, you'll have to have two positives here because you're trying to multiply to get a positive and then add to be a positive. So I would just go up in order. So 1 and 10 would be your first factor of 10. And then the next factor of 10 would be 2 and 5. And then you don't have anything else that goes into it. And then you can just figure out which of these pairs of numbers would add to give you the 7. So this will be the 2 and 5 that you can sub in next then. So it'd be 2 and 5. And then so you're rerunning your trinomial here. So remember, your first term will stay, your last term will stay, your middle term will change. So for this one, when you rewrite it, so you'll have the 2x squared first, because that was what you had originally. And then you'll expand the 7x to be 2x plus 5x. So then you can write that next. So you're kind of doing the opposite of simplifying. And then you'll have your plus 5 at the end. And then remember, you're grouping your first two terms and then your last two terms. So for your first two terms, you're figuring out the GCF for 2x squared plus 2x. So your GCF, your number GCF for both those will be a 2. And you can take just an x from both of those with it. So you can factor out a 2x from those two. And then you'll fill in your parentheses because you're figuring out 2x times what will give you the 2x squared. So 2x times x will give you your first term there. And then you'll figure out 2x times what will give you the 2x there. So that'll be plus 1. And then you'll group your last two terms here. So your GCF for 5x plus 5 will be plus 5. So you can go ahead and factor out a plus 5 from both of those. And remember, both sets of parentheses are going to have to match. So if you're not 5 times what would give you the 5x, so that'd be x. And then 5 times what would give you the 5 there. So that'd be plus 1. And so, like I was saying, this should have a parentheses here. Like I was saying, these two sets of parentheses should always match there. So both those are x plus 1, so that's good then. If not, you would have to go back and rework it there. And then you can write this the short way using the distributed property. So you'll have 2x plus 5 for one of your final factors, and then your other one will be x plus 1. Because you have two of those there, you'll just bring one of them down. So that'd be your answer then. And then you can always check this by foiling it back out. So you can multiply. So this is our answer here, but we can double check. So you can do 2x times x first if you're checking. So that'd be 2x squared. And then you can do 2x times your 1. So that'd give you plus 2x next. So you multiply 2x by both of those two. Now you're doing 5 times both. So 5 times the x would be 5x. And then 5 times your 1 would give you 5 there. And then you'll combine your like terms if you have any. So you can combine a 2x and then 5x in the middle there. So that'll give you 7x then. So you can combine them. So it'd be 2x squared plus 7x plus 5. So we did get what we started with. So that means this is your factored answer there. And then for the next one here, so for this one, so like I said, you should always check to see if there's a GCF you can factor out to start. For this next one here, you have 5x squared minus 19x plus 12. There's not a GCF you can factor out from these three terms either. So you can do a times c to start. So 5 times 12. So that'll give you 60. So any factors of 60 here. And then, so you're trying to multiply to get a positive 60. So you can have two positives or two negatives here. Two positives would not give you a negative 19, so you'll have to have two negatives for this one. And then you can just go ahead and start filling in your, I was trying to go about this part here. Then you can go ahead and start filling in your charts. You're gonna need two negatives. So I would start with -1 and negative 60 to start here, just so you don't miss anything. So you can go up in order. And then 2 would be next. That would go into the 60. So -2 and -30 would be next then. And then 3 would go into the 60, so that'd be -3 and then -20. And then 4 would go into the 60 next. So if you divide 60 by 4, you'll get 15. So -4, -15. And then after 4, so 5 will go into the 60. So 60 divided by 5 will give you 12. So -5, -12. And then the next one after that would be 6. So 6 and 10. So -6 and -10. And then, sorry, those would be all your factors of 60 there then. And so you're figuring out which of these would add to the -19 then. So this will be your -5 and -15 you can sub in then. So it'd be this pair you can sub in there. So those are the figure that you're subbing in because those would add to be the -19. So then you can rewrite this trinomial then. So your first term will stay, your last term will stay, and then your middle term will change. So then you can write it out. So you have the 5x squared first, and then you can sub in your -4x minus the 15x, because that'll give you the -19x. And then you'll have your plus 12 at the end. And then you're grouping your first two terms and then your last two terms here. So you're figuring out the GCF for the first two. So 5x squared minus 4x, that your number GCF for both of these two terms would be a 1, but you can take out an x from both of those with it. So just be an x that you can factor off in the first two terms. And then you're figuring out x times what? It'll give you the 5x squared. So x times 5x will give you the 5x squared. And then x times what would be the -4x. That'd be -4. And then you're grouping your last two terms there then. So you're figuring out the GCF for -15x and a 12. So the greatest number that'll go into both of those two terms would be 3. But remember, both sets of parentheses have to match. You want a positive first and then a negative. So these aren't the right signs. So you should factor out a -3 then for this one. That way you'll switch the signs and they'll be what you want. So then -3 times 5x will give you the -15x, and then -3 times the -4 will give you the 12. And then remember, both of these match, which you have to have there. And then you can write this the short way in the end. So you'll have x minus 3 for one of your final answers, and then 5x minus 4. So it'd look like this there. And it doesn't matter which of those comes first. Either way is fine. I'll circle it since that's the answer. And then, so for number 3 here, so you can check to see if there's a GCF you can factor out also for this. So 5x squared plus 6x minus 12. So there's not anything that you can factor out from all three terms here. So you can go ahead and do a times c to start. So 5 times -12. So you're looking for factors of -60 here that add to give you the 6. So for this one, so you're trying to multiply to get a negative number. So you'll have to have a positive and a negative here. So you can start to make your list then. So let's start with 1 and 60. So -1 and 60, and then 1 and -60 to start. And then since it's even, 2 would be the next number that will go into the 60. So it'd be 2 and 30. So you make the 2 negative and then the 30 negative for those. And then 3 would be the next that will go into the 60. So 3 and 20. So 3 and -20, and then -3 and 20. And then the next factor is 60 would be 4. So 4 and 15. So you make each of them negative. And then 60 divided by 5, that'd give you 12 next. So -5 and 12. And then your next factor is 60 would be 6. Six and 10. And then 7 wouldn't go into it, and then 8 and 9 wouldn't go into it, and then you get back to your 10. So these are all the factors. You're trying to figure out which of those would add to be the 6. So you can try adding these together. None of these in your list will work here, so this one will have to be prime then, which means you can't factor it at all. And then for the next one here, so for number 4, so if you'll notice this one here, so when you check for a GCF, so there is a GCF, you can factor out from this one, so 30x squared minus 25x minus 30. So if you look at these 3 terms, your GCF for this one will be a 5, which you can go ahead and factor out first. That'll be your GCF. And then you will actually factor it out. So you can write your 5. So pretty much you're just factoring a 5 out from each of these 3 terms. So pretty much you can divide all these by 5. So this would be 6x squared, because 5 times 6x squared to give you the 30x squared. Then 5 times negative 5x to give you the negative 25x. And then you'll have minus 6 at the end. And then it's like the other ones after that. So you're ignoring the 5 till the very end when you stick it back on. So you're still doing 8 times c next here. So negative 6 times 6. So if you multiply those, you'll get negative 36 here. So for this one, you'll need factors of negative 36. So this will have to be a positive and a negative. So you can go ahead and start to make your list then. So let's start with 1 and 36 first, and then just go up here. So you can make each of them negative separately there, because you need 1 of each sign there. And then 2 would be the next thing to go into the 36. So 2 and 18 would be your next set. And then 3 and 12 would be your next one for the 36. And then your next one after the 3 and 12 would be 4 and 9 there. So 4 and negative 9 and negative 4 and 9. And then your last factor of the 36 would be 6. 6 and negative 6, because you'll need 1 of each sign there. And then you're figuring out which of these would add to give you, the negative 5 in the middle there. So this will have to be, so you can add up these. So this will be the negative 9 and 4 then. So these are the 2 that you'll sub in then. So then, like I said, you're ignoring the 5 till the very end. So you'll rewrite this. So you'll have 6x squared, and then your middle term you'll rewrite with the plus 4x minus 9x, which is the long way to write the negative 5x. Well, I just put the 9x first, but you'll get the same thing. And then you'll have your minus 6 in the end. And then you can group the first 2 and then your last 2 terms. So your GCF for the first 2 terms will be 3x. So you can factor out a 3x from both of those. So 3x times 2x would give you the 6x squared, and then 3x times negative 3 would give you the negative 9x. And then you can group your last 2 terms there. So you have 4x and the negative 6. So your number GCF for these 2 terms would be 2. And you want a positive first and then a negative. So these are already the right signs. You can just factor out positive 2, because you don't have to change the signs at all. And then you can fill in the parentheses. So 2 times what will give you the 4x. So that'd be 2x. And then 2 times what will give you the negative 6. That'd be negative 3. And then your parentheses matched, which they have to there. And then you can just write this the best way in the end. So you'll have your 3x plus 2 here, and then your 2x minus 3. And then just don't forget about your 5 out front. So you have your 3x plus 2 from this, and then your 2x minus 3, and then the 5 that we factored out in the beginning. So this will be the final answer there then. And then for number 5 here, so this one here, you can check to see if there's a GCF you can factor out like the other one there. So 4x squared minus 17x plus 4. So there's nothing that goes into all 3 of these terms. There's nothing you can factor out first. So you can just do a times c to start. So 4 times 4. So 4 times 4, so you need factors of 16 here that would add to the negative 17 in the middle. So this is kind of like one of the other ones you did there. You're trying to multiply to get a positive 16. So you can have 2 positives or 2 negatives. 2 positives wouldn't add to the negative 17, so you'll have to have 2 negatives for this one. So it'd be like that then. And then you can make your list here of your factors at 16. So I do the 1 and 16 first. So -1, -16. And then I'm just going up in order here. After the 1 would be 2. So 2 and 8. So -2, -8, because you want both negatives. And then your last factor of 16 will be 4. So -4, -4 then. And then you're trying to figure out which of these two would add to give you, which pair would add to be the -17. So that'll have to be -1 and -16 there. It'd be this first one there. So you can sub those in. So you can rewrite this trinomial. So your 4x squared will stay, and then you can rewrite your -17x. So you'll have the -1x and then -16x, just because you're rewriting the -17x there. And then you're grouping your first two terms and then your last two terms. Just so you know, when you sub those values in, you could put the -16x first and then your -x. As long as they're both there, you'll still get the same final answer. So for this one, if you group the first two terms here, so 4x squared minus x, you have 4 and 1, so your number GCF for these two will be 1. But you can take an x from both of these first two terms. So the only thing you can factor out from those two would be an x to start. And then you can fill in the parentheses. Because you're figuring out x times what would give you the 4x squared. So 1 times 4, so that'd have to be 4x. And then you're figuring out x times what would give you the -x, so that'd just be -1. And then you're grouping your last two terms there, so -16x plus 4. So you're figuring out what your GCF will be for those two terms. So that'll have to be 4 for 16 and 4 there. And then remember, you want your parentheses to match both sets here. So you want T4x minus 1 in there, so you want positive and then negative. You don't have a positive first and then a negative like you want, so you'll need to factor out a -4. That way your signs will switch then, and they'll match. And then you can just fill in the parentheses. So -4 times 4x would give you the -16x. And then -4 times a -1 would give you the +4 there. And plus, that way they match here like you wanted. So then you can write this the shortened way in the end for your final answer. So you'll have x minus 4 for one of your final answers, and then 4x minus 1 as your other factor in the end. So this will be your answer for this one. I don't know what happened to that. Okay, ignore that. But yeah, this is your final answer, the bottom one there. And then for this last one here, so like I said, so for these, so you're checking to see if there's a GCF first with this one here. So 15x squared minus 27x minus 6. So there is a GCF you can factor out here from all three of these. So it'd be 3. So you can factor out a 3 to start. So you're pretty much dividing all three of those terms by 3. So you're figuring out 3 times what would give you the 15x squared. So that'd be 5x squared. And then you're figuring out 3 times what would give you the -27x. That'd be -9x. And then 3 times what would give you the -6. That'd be -2. And then, so once you have that there, then you can ignore the 3 till the end, till you put it back on. So then you'll do a times c here. So -2 times 5. So that'll be -10. So you need factors in -10 that would add to be your -9 here. So you're trying to multiply to get a negative. So you have to have a positive and a negative since you're trying to multiply to get a negative here. So you're doing factors in -10. So I'll start with 1 and -10, and then you can make the other one negative, just as long as you have one of each there. And then the only other one would be 2 and 5. And then you can figure out which of those would add to be the -9 that you're trying to get there. So this will be the first one then. So then you can sub them in. So you're ignoring your 3 till the very end. So you're just rewriting this one here. So you'll have your 5x squared still, and then you're rewriting your middle term. So then you'll have the plus 1x and then minus the 10x. You're just writing the -9x a long way. I put it in different order, but either way, we're the same thing. And then you'll have your -2 at the end. And then you can group your first two terms and the last two. So the 5x squared minus the 10x. So your number GCF for both of those will be a 5. And you can also take an x from your first two terms. You can factor out a 5x from those to start. And then you're figuring out 5x times what would give you the 5x squared. So that'd be an x. And then 5x times what would give you the negative 10x. That'd be minus 2. Hold on, this shouldn't be there, sorry. Okay, and then you're grouping your last two terms. So you have x minus 2 here. So your number GCF for these two would be a 1. And then you can't take a variable from both these. So just be a 1 that you can factor out. And then you're figuring out 1 times what? We'll give you the x. That'd be x. And then 1 times what gives you the negative 2. So that'd be minus 2 then. And then you can write this short way here. So both your parentheses match. That's good. So you'll have 5x plus 1 for one of your final answers, and then x minus 2. And then don't forget to put the 3 back out front. 3 factor out in the beginning there too. And then this is your answer here. And then once you have your answer in the end, you should always, you can always check to make sure there's nothing else you can factor out of the inside the parentheses. You have 5x plus 1. There's nothing else that can come out there. And then x minus 2, there's nothing that can come out there. So you did get the biggest GCF. And then like for the others, when you get your final answer, you can also double check as well. Okay, so that's the last one there. There's a Google Docs that you're going to work on factoring, and it's more practice kind of like this here. Just let me know if you need help with that though.